The COVID pandemic has exposed the gaps in medical research, especially in Africa, and that is as the continent relies heavily on treatments and vaccines from the Western world. Is there room for herbal medicine? Bridget Singana spoke to a scientist who is researching just that, herbal medicine. Here is the story.
And this tree is also very important. The leaves of this tree, someone who's bitten by a snake, just boil it, and then the person will be relieved immediately.
You said the leaves?
Yeah, the leaves, the leaves of this tree.
Professor Mohamed Abdile's backyard is a catalogue of indigenous trees, most of which have therapeutic and health benefits.
The ancient people used the rosemary for preservation of the dead bodies.
In this small patch alone, he tells us that there are more than 200 indigenous trees. Despite being a clinical virologist, his passion for indigenous medicinal knowledge has seen him research widely on possible immune-boosting remedies.
Been teaching clinical virology for almost 16, 17 years, and being a former Cambridge research scientist. And the outcome of a research is always one that has to be of beneficial to mankind, not only publishing. So, looking at the literatures, it took almost 4 or 5 months, and then coming up with the solution and the concoction as the COVID remedy, which we abbreviate as CR7, it just took another 2-3 months. So combined, let's just say, it took 6 months combined together to come up with this solution.
As a visiting professor at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, Professor Abdile says the first time the world came close to understanding this coronavirus was after the SARS-CoV-1 outbreak in China in the early 2000s.
SARS-CoV-1 occurred in 2002 in China. Between 2002 and 2004, it affected the world. It had higher mortality rate within that short duration. Not only its country of origin, but the world has also controlled it. But the world did not make use of that opportunity to stop further pandemic or further spread of the corona. Now, the country that had the best experience of an emergency regarding pandemic was China. The best way is to learn from the current experience. And let us look at the countries that have really successfully handled the virus, leading by China. Look at even New Zealand. There is no shortcut to it.
In Asia, traditional or indigenous medicine complements modern medicine. And while here, research on traditional medicine is still learning to work, Professor Abdile says he is researching how COVID-19 responds to different herbal medicine that are indigenous to Kenya.
It's not bad.
It's not bad?
This is just
It's just
tea.
like tea, by the way.
Yeah.
Traditional medicine, however, often clashes with modern medicines, even though the core ingredients of modern medicine are herbs. And since the outbreak of the COVID pandemic, a lot of herbalists have claimed to have the cure for the virus. Nutritionists, on the other hand, believe that the best medicine is food.
When we are treating for COVID, one of the things that we want to increase intake is the intake of protein. And protein doesn't have to be meat. So you can have your njahe, you can have your lentils, you can have your omena, you can have your eggs. Eggs are a very good source of protein. All right, and not too expensive. So if you're not able to have the meat, you can have an egg, so that we are able to increase your protein intake to aid in repair of worn-out tissues.
And when it comes to natural remedies, they are strictly supplements, not necessarily the cure.
For example, when you have a cough, what is the natural thing that you do in the house, even before you go to the hospital? You will take some honey. If you have some natural honey, you will put in some lemon, okay? And you will drink that. It helps to soothe, okay? It's anti-inflammatory. So yes, the natural herbs do have a role to play in the treatment of COVID, in boosting our immunity. But the word here is natural, okay? We need to avoid the processed ones.
In June, Uganda approved the use of Covidex as a herbal treatment for COVID-19. Professor Abdile says through his research, he has found a herbal supplement that is showing promising results and can be used in Kenya.
There is need for African countries to join hands, invest in their traditional African research medicine. So what you have is what belongs to you. What is in the hands of others does not belong to you. It's time for Africa to join hands, collaborate with each other, enhance what is its own backyards, and help its people, rather than relying on an expensive venture following someone else's invention and someone else's idea.
When it comes to herbal remedies and the treatment of COVID-19, we can say that the jury is still out on what really works or doesn't. But for Professor Abdile here, he says he's been able to merge conventional medicine and traditional knowledge, and in a way he has posted positive results in the people he has been able to reach with his mixture. Bridget, Ghana, NTV, Nakuru.